Hello. Thank you everyone for coming to join us this morning. My name is John Fetchy. I'm the Commercial Director at VRLearning Studio. We're a division of e-learning studios, but we specialise purely on the VR training, which we've been doing for a little over 3 years now. Joining me a little bit later on stage will be Peter Cullen. He's the Director of Health and Safety for GKR Scaffolding, who have scaffolded sites such as the Shard, Battersea Power Station, the Mary Rose. And he also commissioned us to do some VR training for his company. And he's going to be talking a little bit later as to why they've decided to go into VR training and also the effects that it's had. So, let me start with the initial premise. Is VR training effective? Yes or no? Probably not the answer you're expecting. But I do want to convey at the start here that I don't think VR training is a magic wand across learning and development. It doesn't work in every single part of L&D. And we shouldn't all be moving into VR. But in the right situations, VR is the best learning tool. And it's a case of just knowing when those right situations are. If I can, for a brief moment, give you an analogy here. I see VR learning a little bit like the microwave oven is to the kitchen. I can see some very bemused looks. When the microwave oven came out, it didn't change the basics of cooking. We still mix and heat ingredients as we always have, even though most of us probably have a microwave oven in the kitchen. And if you want to cook a roast or you want to make toast, you're not going to use a microwave oven. However, if you want to reheat that roast, or if you want to make a hot chocolate with that toast, the microwave oven is by far the most effective, quickest tool for doing this. And I think that VR should be integral to any L&D kitchen. I'm also just going to clear up a couple of definitions around VR, because there are a sort of few different areas. Firstly, 360 video. As you see up there, that's a sort of image we've taken from Google Street View. It's very common now. It's very common because it's very cheap, it's very easy. However, it does have some limitations in that it's very difficult to interact with. I can't touch any of the cars or open any of the doors there. And if I want to add any content or change any of the processes, I'm going to have to reshoot. Augmented reality, AR, the example you see is Pokemon Go there. Digital creation put over real life scenarios, very good for diagnostics. And then finally, virtual reality. And this is really where we work. This is, you need to put on a headset and headphones for it, and you're able to see, hear and interact with a virtual world. The key to this is it's a 3D world. So if I see a door in here, I can open that door. If I see a person or the avatar of that person, I can communicate with that person. And the other advantage of this is that if I want to add any content, if I want to change any of my processes, it's simply a case of a bit of developer time. So it's constantly up to date. I've used, I haven't here. Oh, so the three ways that I've used previously to sum up these areas is 360 video is to see the job. AR video is when you're on the job. And VR is to learn the job. And that is why VR is the most popular area in L&D. But I said yes and no, so let me just go through the no's quickly. Why and where is it not so effective? If you want to read a book, if you've got lots of text or you want to see an Excel sheet full of numbers, VR's not your place for it. If you want to spend a long time watching a video or watching a lecture, again, I wouldn't recommend using VR for this. And finally, if you need access to the internet and you want to type on the internet, well, you're generally using controllers like your remote control on your TV. Again, not so great. So if it's not so great at those points, why have companies like these come to us to build VR training for them? And that is because when used at the right time and in the right place, it is the most effective learning tool. So, when are those right times? When is it a yes? I think the broader answer is when you are bridging that gap between practice, between theory or the classroom, trying to take that into reality. And let me come through those areas specifically where I think it is most effective. We've highlighted a few here. I don't know if you can read them all. But the key ones here: soft skills, technical skills, health and safety, but there's also expensive and dangerous training and possible situations and relaxation. And what I'm going to come on to now is examples of all of those that we've already built for and had success with. One of the most popular ones you can see here is for Danske Bank. Soft skills, obviously an area that most companies need to improve on. We built a bank, and this is to train their frontline staff. So that clients come in and they have obviously a series of questions, and you have a branching scenario behind that where they're answering the client's questions and directing them accordingly. But on top of that, they're also reading the client's body language. Have they come in and they're wet through with rain, or as we're told, if they're holding a piece of paper, you know it's a bad thing. Or you've also got to read their facial expressions to your responses as well, and how do you react to that? The next one, and probably one of the most common ones, is health and safety. What you're looking at here actually is one of our off-the-shelf training programs. And I think this is one where it really highlights the difference between theory, training and practice. This is not something you can really do in the classroom. We delivered a lot of e-learning in our time as well. And sometimes health and safety and compliance can be a little bit dry. Well, in this, it's anything but. It's only 75 seconds long. And in that time, you've got to deal with a fire, you've got to deal with the emergency services, you've got to, the people that are in the office, and maybe even fighting the fire. It's a high energy, high anxiety scenario that you've got to take on. And what we found is it works very well actually in workshops because it provokes quite a sort of heated discussion afterwards, because you get the analytics at the end on how you did. In possible situations, this is one we made for Roche, the pharmaceutical company, to show how a new drug of theirs works for people who have haemophilia type A. And they wanted to get this learning across not only within the company but also externally to their suppliers. And so we shoot you via VR from a syringe into a blood vessel, and you can go and interact with all the components in there, interact with the red and white corpuscles, the platelets, find out more about it, and actually start to find out how that clotting cascade happens. Technical training, there could have been any number of ones on here, certainly Pete's has got a lot of technical elements, but I chose the BBC one we did here because it gave people a rare chance to go into a BBC studio in VR and see what it's like to direct a TV show. You've got 3 cameras that are all voice activated, zoom in, camera 1, 2, 3, and you've got to follow the script, you've got to direct accordingly. Not an easy task to do, and again, under time constraints. Expensive and dangerous training, this one we built for training engineers to do repair wind turbines. Obviously that's working at height, very, very dangerous area, and also once you get up there, this machinery is quite an expensive bit of kit. If you make a mistake, that's an expensive mistake you make. So yeah, much better to do this in VR where you're safe and you can practice and hone your skills before you get to do the real thing. And finally, this sort of almost came about by accident. We built this with Channel 4 for relaxation at work, for companies that have very busy or quite stressful work environments, but at the same time it's difficult for people to get away for a walk or take some time out during the day because they just don't have the time. So in this, they get to fly around some islands and be at peace with birds. And what we found is after 4 or 5 minutes, it just resets it and lets them start again with the day. So there's some of the examples we've done, and I'm just going to show you a practical example as well. This is another one of our off-the-shelf products. It's a sort of split screen here. That's me, and this is what I'm seeing when I'm in the headset. So I'm just going to play this video and talk to that.
I see virtual reality at the moment as a microwave oven in the kitchen. The introduction of the microwave oven hasn't fundamentally changed cooking. We still mix ingredients, heat them in an oven or on a stove, in just the same way that we always have, even though most kitchens now have a microwave oven. But they have one because there are just some things that a microwave oven does better.
Okay. So yeah, that was, as I say, one of our off-the-shelf ones. That was just me in a headset using my phone that I have on me, just an app on my phone where I upload my speech. As you saw, I just upload my notes, and I can practice away in an immersed scenario. It's actually, you may have heard a sort of phone ringing, that you heard the sort of heartbeat, you heard a phone ringing, because what it's doing is actually monitoring whether I'm speaking too quickly or too slowly, am I speaking too loud or too soft, do I have intonation in my voice, am I engaging with eye contact with the crowd, and if I'm not, then people start checking their mobile phones, or they start talking over me, and I've actually got to win them back. But what it is a very good example of why VR is so effective. I'm immersed in that environment, I'm immersed in the theatre, I'm interacting with the audience, and I'm getting the emotion, the stress. You heard the sort of the heartbeat, and there's actually the quiet as you walk on stage, and some slight fear before you go on to talk. And basically what all of that does is it creates a learning experience. Oh, I'm sorry, sort of PowerPoint messed it up a bit there, but what we're trying to get to is a learning experience. So we create the immersion, the interaction, and the emotion. And with that, people learn by experience. So, how do we emphasize all of those areas? Well, let me just give you a couple of examples. The immersive learner, this is what we did with Pete, and this is before they go onto the building site that Pete will talk about. They have to choose their PPE equipment, and this is based on Sean. Sean is their health and safety advisor, and this is who they normally meet at the site. So we did the avatar based on him. All the language, we followed his language, so that we followed his script, so that when learners are in there, or when his operatives are in there, it sounds like Pete. They're using a language and cadence that Sean uses, and they're immediately immersed. They're in the environment, and they're no longer thinking this is VR, they're just in the training. Let them interact. This is the British Gas one, that for their engineers to go into our homes and install the new hives. So the engineers have to wire these up correctly, obviously interact with the control boxes and the other implements around the house. And if they get it wrong at points, it's not the greatest picture here, they get electrocuted. They get an electric shock, and the whole thing jumps and fuzzes, and it creates an emotional response. And what that gives us is a learning path, and it lets them learn from experience. Immersion, emotion, interaction, learning experience. So that's the theory, that's why it works. What I'll do now is hand over to Pete to give you the sort of practical.
Okay, thanks, John. Good morning, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to say I'm pleased to be here today, but more importantly, how extremely proud I am to be here just to briefly discuss my journey or our company's journey on engaging with VRLearning Studios and also developing a VR training program, a behavioural training program for our scaffold operatives. Before I go into it, I'd just like to start with a story. Now, my responsibility for my role, I have to ensure that all of our accidents, incidents and near misses are always investigated. Now, there's one which really sticks in my mind, it's quite poignant, and there was one young scaffold operative, and his task was to manual handle scaffold materials from one point to the other. It was on level 5 of a building, and on this particular trip that he was making with a scaffold tube, he decided to take a shortcut. Instead of going through the normal safe route, he actually decided to take a quicker route over some corrugated decking, which meant that he was walking over an uneven ground surface. Now, unfortunately, while he was doing this, he tripped. And it was in close proximity to avoiding the ground, or riser. And this riser was protected by 3 handrails. Now, obviously, as he tripped, his natural instinct was to reach out and grab the handrail. As he did that, he dropped the scaffold tube. I think we all know where the scaffold tube probably went. It went straight down the riser. I attended site pretty quick, and to say that the operative was in a state of shock was an understatement. He couldn't actually look over the handrail to see where the tube had gone. He knew that there was other contractors working for another company on that project who were working down there, and he thought they'd hit, injured, or maybe even worse. He couldn't actually look over there. So we sat him down, he calmed down. And after he'd repeatedly apologised for what he'd done, he actually stood up and he looked me in the eyes and he said, "I will never ever do that again." And that stuck with me, and I thought, this is great. He won't, and I believe him, he won't, and he will never do that again. But it was too late. We'd actually missed something. We could have caused injury to somebody. By the way, nobody was injured during this. But it got me thinking. Another issue that we're faced with is that our operatives, we do a lot of the high-risk works, so they can be faced in a high-risk environment of working 600 feet on ground level, cantilevering scaffolds out for members of the public. We haven't had one reported incident or accident while they're working up here. They've got this high-risk mindset. They perceive the high risk and the high-risk activities that they're doing. Our issues come is when we're working sort of 3 metres, 10 metres, 12 metres off the ground. It's where the majority of our incidents happen. And I truly, truly believe it's because our operatives are not perceiving the risk that's in front of them. Okay? They're losing this high-rise mindset. So what we wanted to have a look at is we tried different talks and different training schemes. We wanted to recreate this environment that some operatives have been through, where they'd actually seen or thought they had actually injured somebody. So this is why we had a look at wanting to go into virtual reality training, so we can actually immerse our operatives in a realistic workforce environment, and we could actually demonstrate to them how quickly the working environment can change, but more importantly, when something does go wrong, when shortcuts are taken, we can show them the severity of their actions and the consequences of their actions. Okay. So what we did is we engaged with VRLearning Studios. We actually had a collaborative team working together on this, so we used our contracts managers. Like John mentioned earlier, we've actually used some of our guys to do the verbal instructions on this. So as soon as the operatives, they put the headsets in, their minds are tricked, they're immersed into this real life world where it is identical to what they're working in. We also work with our designers, and our designers were able to use the software from the designs, which went into the virtual reality as well. So when they're out there actually working on the scaffolding and seeing officers working around the scaffolding, this is scaffolding that they've actually built themselves. So they've got the right noises, they've got the actual detail down there, absolutely perfect. Sorry John, I'm just moving on to the side. So we built the virtual reality training. We got it as ideal as we can. We started rolling the training out, and this was absolutely fascinating to us. Some of the operatives that were putting the headsets on, they acted differently. Some of them were actually during the program or the modules, they were actually going, "Stop, mate! Whoa, no, stop! Don't do that!" And they really got into it. And actually, when they took the headsets off, they was actually sweating. They actually thought they'd never seen anything like this. We didn't give them too much of a briefing of what they were going into. But they were tricked. They were actually in this world that they're actually working into. After it was actually on the first session, it was the 5th operative, he actually took his headset off. And he looked round to me and he said, "I can't believe it. One of these scenarios I've just seen I did this morning. And he looked at me and he said, I will never do that again now I've seen the consequence. You can imagine that the smiles on our faces. We'd cracked it. We'd actually realised we'd met our objective of what we'd set out to do. It worked, and they all got it. It was absolutely fantastic. So, VRLearning Studio, what they have done is they've built in a performance management system into it as well. So all of our operatives, they log in, they put in their training card details. So we can actually not only measure the performance of the operative within the training, but we can measure the performance of the training itself. We've also engaged with Dr. Bass, who's going to be introduced a little bit later on. So that's great. So is this the future for training for GKR Scaffolding? 100%. A lot of our operatives, they are boring, they don't enjoy desktop training, they don't enjoy the PowerPoint training at all. Do they enjoy the VR training? Absolutely. We're just starting to understand the capabilities of what the training can do. We've built in physics calculators in there so we can show when items are dropped, the deflection on there, the force of impact that they come down on there. We are invested into this and we truly believe that this is the future of training, certainly for behavioural training within GKR Scaffolding. With that, I'll go back over to you, John. Sorry about the size, forgot about that. I got a bit carried away.
Yeah, and as Pete alluded to there's actually several elements to this training, as well as obviously the training itself and how that's being monitored by his team. It's actually being studied by the University of Twente and by an assistant professor there called Dr. Baz, and unfortunately he couldn't be here today, but he has left us a little message I'm going to play.
Hello London. Sorry I can't be with you today. My name is Bas Collevel. I'm an assistant professor of professional learning with technology at the University of Twente in the Netherlands. We are very excited to be working on this pioneering study with VRLearning Studio and GKR into the effectiveness of VR training. We hope to have preliminary results available in June and full results by the end of 2018. If you would like us to send you both sets of results, please hand your business cards or email addresses to my colleagues at the front. Enjoy the show.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Baz. So, Dr. Baz, everyone's laughing at the accent. Dr. Baz obviously needs a lot of data to work on, and all of our scenarios are built in with XAPI, and we're feeding in, well, the GKR data is all going to him anonymously, and we're monitoring every action, every interaction, every decision that every operative makes, or delay in decision, or lack of decision. Are they responding to the visual cues, the audio cues given to them? Are they able to spot a hazard before it happens? You know, do you dither too long on choosing which fire extinguisher to do, or do you, if you hear the sound of a spanner dropping, are you reacting to that? Or, you know, in the case of Danske Bank, did you spot someone, you know, really frowning at your last comment? So all of that information gets passed to him, and not only are we judging whether there are certain outliers amongst the learning group, and occasionally they may need some interventions. As Pete said, and probably more important to this, is VR training effective? Yes, it is. So how do we optimise it? And that's what we're looking at. Did 70% of people choose the wrong fire extinguisher? Well, if so, why? Is that a problem with our training, or is that a problem with the knowledge dissemination? And what we're working very closely with Pete and Dr. Baz is that we're optimising that training. We're constantly monitoring the results, and we're monitoring how the population does, and tweaking it all along the way. So I can see PowerPoint's messing me around again, but the final, you know, to go to the premise again, is VR training effective? Absolutely it is. But it's using it at the right time and in the right situation. And if you use it in the right time and the right situation, it is by far and away the most effective learning tool. that's us wrapping up now. I've seen a couple of other talks over sort of today and yesterday. I just wanted to point out the reason why we don't have any videos in this, in that I don't think that's a fair representation of what virtual reality is like. Virtual reality has to be experienced to understand it. And if I just put videos on here, it would you might as well just go to YouTube. What I would suggest is that pretty much everything I've talked to, every scenario you've seen on here, we have as a VR experience on our stand. And I've got a team of guys over there on stand 7 who will be able to put you into whichever one you're interested in. And whether it's the health and safety, the soft skills, technical training, or whichever client you want to look at, please come over there and try it for yourself. So that's all from us. I can see from the timing we've got maybe a couple of minutes for questions. So does anyone have any? Yes, cool. I get it. If you just say it to me and I'll shut down.
People sitting in the same environment, giving feedback towards each other in the same virtual environment. Kind of collaboration.
Yeah, so yes it is the answer. Most of our deliveries, obviously there's a lot of hardware out being shown here today, and a lot of it's done on the tethered ones where you have a cable coming out, the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift, and that has to come with a monitor because you have to have a computer attached to it. But it's also quite cumbersome because you've got a lot of cables around you. Most of our deliveries are actually on, they're just on our phones, on the Samsungs, and a £50 headset, and all you need to do is put a Chromecast into your monitor, and the two connect, and you can show it on the monitor. Yes? Oh, David, sorry, would you mind?
I can shout. So you talked about the reactions to it. Hello? You talked about the reactions to it, so there's positive reactions, so I'm never going to do that again, those sort of statements. Are you tracking actual on-the-job performance and behaviours?
Do you want to take that?
So we're looking at actual, where they're working on the project itself in real time, the behaviours.
So do these sort of interventions make a change in actual on-the-job behaviours? Do you get like a reduction in number of incidents or near misses, etc.?
Well, I suppose this is where the beauty is at the moment, is because we've only just started rolling this virtual reality training out, because we're measuring the performance here, what we can actually do at the moment is we've got probably 400 operatives. What we're going to do is we're going to train a certain amount of operatives, but not the others. So over 12 months we can actually measure to see if there is a difference in performance or health and safety performance. Okay.
Yeah, what I would say is that what you saw with Dr. Baz there is that studies starting from February the 8th. We've only done the preliminary runs on that. And it's being done as a control, so there's actually their traditional training, classroom training, and the VR training, and then there'll be a VR optimized training as well. And the preliminary results won't show the 4 different categories there, but the full results will show the difference in the 4 categories. Any more? Yes. Sorry.
Okay. So you talked about delivering. You talked about delivering training, but do you have any idea on whether there's a benefit on retention of training as well, say longer term?
Yeah, and that's exactly what the study's about. At the moment, it seems to be, and it seems to be, we're at a new stage with this technology. The companies that are taking it on, Deloitte and GKR and GSK, they're early adopters to it. So that's why we realise that the information isn't there at the moment. We can't quantitatively say, yes, that's the case, and hence the study with the University of Twente. At the moment, what we've got is, I guess, living case studies. We've got Pete here, and if you go onto our website, I think there's 7 other case studies on there where you can read about, the clients that have been using our training. Okay, is that all? Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.